I believe, I asked earlier, I said, where are the angels in this world? And I believe you're the angels. We are the angels. We're all in this together. We're the angels that have come to this world. And from that perspective, what I know is that anyone that crosses my path is an angel. If we're all angels, then we're all angels, not just angels sometimes. And what I know is that angels cross our paths at times we would least suspect it. 3 weeks ago, I had the opportunity, and Melissa had the opportunity to witness, probably the worst, okay, I'm judging it, the greatest degree of anger and rage as an adult that I've had in years and years and years. And it happened quite innocently, quite unexpectedly. As we were driving to Houston, driving to Albuquerque to fly to Houston for a workshop, I stopped by a design company who's working on a book for me for what I believed was to sign off on something that had already been done. The publisher happened to be on the phone. He happened to have a friend in town who had never witnessed this book before, had no idea what we were doing, happened to drop by and happened to critique the entire book, and had faxed it back with tremendous amounts of changes that made no sense whatsoever in American standards. Some of the changes were valid, some were good, and many of them were not. And when I began talking to this person on the phone, I felt this tremendous anger and rage welling up inside of me as I sensed I was being attacked on this text. And it was interesting because we had about a 3.5 hour drive to the Albuquerque airport, and I probably didn't say much for the first 30 minutes down the Taos Canyon, and Melissa knew that I was quiet. And as I went over this in my mind, what I had to say this, because if it's true, it's true. Every person in this world is an angel. An angel had just crossed my path and had just shown me something about myself that had surprised me. And I began from that tenet forward. And I went through this process, the processes that I've shared with you. And what I found was that as I was able to take the recommendations and reconcile my emotion over the sense of being attacked, the outcome was going to be ultimately, I mean, most people would never know this happened. What they're going to have is a better book. And I went at it from that perspective. I think angels drop in on us. Melissa and I were driving down the freeway, and on an exit ramp, I saw a pregnant woman, hitchhiker, homeless, with a box and a can. And we were in a hurry on our way to the airport, and I drove by. And as soon as I drove by, I knew that I shouldn't have. And there are no shoulds and shouldn'ts. I felt that I had chosen to stop and that I had kept driving. Another part of me had kept driving. So, got off the next exit, went through a couple of traffic lights, came back up the other side, came back down again. She was there, and I missed the exit. She was still there. Went back down to the exit, went through a couple of traffic lights. I went back up. I found the right exit to offer her some money, and she was gone. And I knew in that moment it was less important whether or not she ever got that money, if she was ever really even there. What had happened was she was there, we had witnessed her, and in that witnessing, we had made a choice, and something changed within us. And I believe we work that way with one another. I believe things like that happen all the time. All the time. Sometimes they don't even know they're angels. If you don't like the word angels, you can substitute your own words in there. I know you're all not from around here. Nobody's from around here. So if wherever you think you're from, or whatever that means to you, you can put your own language in there. Can you see how this may apply in your life if you allow for its possibility, and how it may serve you? This is all about serving you. I would never choose to convince, persuade, or redefine any existing belief system that you have, because it's served you so well, it brought you to this room. And it may continue to serve you. And should you find a time that does not, you have this. You have this. This is a particularly powerful image for me. It was painted by Cheryl Rose in Mount Shasta. This is Christ as an initiate remembering, rather than as a fully evolved, all-knowing being appearing. As we're shown in the Essene text, he went through a process, very accelerated, and he had a lot of help in his life, where he remembered from those around him these truths. And what he said in the text and what the other Essenes have said is that these truths within us we'll never find in our external studies, ultimately. We'll never find them in our external sciences. Look at the temple walls in Egypt. Over and over again, you'll see references to these beings holding tuned, resonant rods, vibratory rods, and bowls and bells. And in the indigenous traditions, all the sounds that allow people to move into a space, the value of those outside traditions and all those texts and all the science and all of these tools is that they are references. They're reference points that bring us back to the place where we know ourselves in wholeness. And what we're asked to do is to remember what that feels like and then to become that feeling. And you no longer need the external texts or the outside temples or the machines that make you feel better, because you have become that. They've served their purpose. This is the difference between the Western and the Eastern and ancient traditions. In the Western traditions, we find things that we like. We say we need them again and again and again because we rely on them. In the Eastern and the ancient traditions, we find them, we embody them, and we say we've learned, we've remembered from them, they've served us well. Now we no longer need them because we've become the offering. Over and over again, you'll see this in the Egyptian traditions. People say, well, even the Egyptians used tools. And I say, yes, they used tools as a reference of emotion. We're asked to look to nature to know of the true laws that govern our existence in this world. And in the presence of one another, is where we live the initiation. We don't have to leave our homes, our jobs, our families. We don't have to give up everything we've ever held dear. If we do, that's a choice. You don't have to lead what people consider to be a spiritual lifestyle. Your opportunity is to take whatever this information means to you and to anchor it and live it in your world that you've created for yourself. To live it in your workplace and to live it in your communities and in your families. And you never have to say a word. You simply become the change that results from whatever this information has meant to you. This is where I believe we see our true teachers. You look into the eyes of these children. You seen any new children around lately? Something changed. Something changed. They look different than they used to. There are some amazing, powerful, masterful beings appearing in our world right now in little tiny bodies. And they always have. I believe that there are more and more that are occurring now.